You are now watching Zach Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' peeps? Welcome back to the channel, Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over a new Brilliant Stars deck, Entei V with Ludicolo. So very similar to Suicune Ludicolo, but the list is much more different than you could ever think it would be. It seems really cool. It is an early list, so I might have some things that I change in the future, things that I'm like, you wanna know what, I didn't necessarily like that about the list, but the list is in the description. Let me know what you think about this deck. You can always check it out, play it in real life, start getting prepared for Brilliant Stars because that's around the corner. I do want to give a shout out to Pokebeach. The link for the translations is in the description as well, so by all means check that out, shout out to them. I don't know, I'm really inspired and hyped to start creating some early content when it comes to Brilliant Stars. Hopefully you enjoy this deck profile. You know what we say, let's get it. Here we have it, Entei V with Ludicolo. I do want to point out that this deck looks very similar to a Suicune Ludicolo in a lot of ways, and that's because Entei is a spiritual reprint, or I guess it fits along with the theme. We got Suicune and Evolving Skies. Here we are about 6 months later. I'm not sure how the release date worked in Japan, or how far apart Suicune and Entei were released. That being said, Entei V has fleet-footed, so once during your turn, if this Pokemon's in the active spot, you get to draw a card. Same thing as Suicune V. And we also have Burning Rondo instead of Blizzard Rondo. This is like literally copying your homie's homework and marking you off it yourself, right? The only difference is that this Pokemon is fire type. There's a few other things here or there, but reasonably, I do want to let y'all know that that Entei seems different. Instead of powering up with Melanie, we have access to Magma Basin. So instead of going with a heavy supporter line, we go with a heavy stadium line. Magma Basin is a new card from our upcoming set, Brilliant Stars. And before I get too deep in this, I do want to let people know that these are very early deck lists. Things can definitely change when it comes to these deck lists. I might notice things that are small. Even as I'm doing this, like Entei, I'm like, you want to know what? Maybe Air Balloon is not the wave. Maybe it is the wave. You know what I'm saying? It's just little things. I'm always nitpicky about these decks, and sometimes it's more about getting a general shell out there, changing things up. So Magma Basin is once during each player's turn, that player may attach a fire energy from their discard pile to one of their bench fire Pokemon. If they do, that player puts 2 damage counter on that Pokemon. So we could power up the Entei V without using a supporter, which gives us options to play other supporters in the deck. We have access to Kindler, we have access to Boss, Raihan, Marnie, Research, and we also have access to Lumineon V. So Lumineon V is a spiritual reprint of Tapu Lele GX, a card that was beloved by many, world championship winning card, international championship winning card, featured in so many decks. Lumineon allows us to go turn 1 Kindler, search your deck for Kindler. You get to pitch a fire energy from your hands, which is like interesting. It's really one of those cards where like Kindler is like, pitch a fire from your hands. If you do, look at the top 7 cards of your deck and put 2 of them into your hands. So that works out really well. It can help us rip Rare Candy. It can help us rip a Ludicolo piece. It can help us rip a Magma Basin, Cross Switcher pieces. So overall, this deck's all about thinning your deck out so that you can hit hard with Kindler, and using Kindler to accelerate the Magma Basin so you have fires in your discard pile, accelerate to Entei, and then getting Ludicolo out and really swinging hard with Ludicolo. We don't play the Inteleon engine for that reason, because we're able to accelerate energies really easily. We're able to search through our deck relatively easily, something that's more on type. So Inteleon's more of a neutral thing that works in a lot of decks. This is a deck specific way to make things happen. Kindler and Magma Basin are really seem to be cards that are meant for each other, so I try to kind of have things that will work together when I possibly can. So we can grab our moving pieces with that. Lumineon fills the bench for Burning Rondo, Crobat fills the bench for Burning Rondo. We have all these things that allow us to work out, and we also have Galarian Articuno that allows us to pitch a couple cards from our hands and really draw a card that can get the fire energy for the Magma Basin, draw more cards, thin through our deck, all that stuff. Since we have Lumineon, we have a bit more of a diverse supporter lineup. Boss's Orders is still great, even though we have Cross Switcher, allowing us to meet the requirements of the Magma Basin, because you can only attach to your bench Pokemon, allowing us to bring up things and play a Kindler in the same turn, or play Raihan Cross Switcher. Like, you can have these massive turns with this deck, and a lot of what I've learned about this deck comes from the Scourge early deck profile that I covered. So if you haven't got a chance to check that one out, by all means check that one out. It really, there's a lot of ideas and inspiration that I took here. So yeah, you could definitely go Raihan, attach an energy, search for a Cross Switcher, maybe you have the other one in your hand, Cross Switcher, knock something out, and maybe go Ludicolo in the same turn. You have Research if you ever just need to pitch your hand, get something completely fresh. You have Marnie if you ever need to disrupt your opponent, or there's cards like Cross Switcher and energies that you don't want to have in your hand that you want to put at the bottom of your deck. Put that back in there for whatever. Quick Ball and Ultra Ball are really important when it comes to this deck because you are able to discard fire energies. I can't stress enough that you want to be discarding fire energies with this deck. It would be nice to play Energy Search, to be honest, but we don't really have a great way to search it out. Like, Kindler needs a fire energy in order to be using Kindler, so we got to look at it like that. Energy retrieval might be necessary when it comes to Kindler. I was thinking more or less that once you get Kindler off, you only want to be playing a couple per game. But it is one of those things that we might need to have some kind of energy thing, because we will eventually have all of our energies in our discard pile or something like that. But we do need to get them early game so we can attack with Entei, and we could be very aggressive. Like, this deck can attack turn 1. Similar to what we've seen with Meloetta, is decks that can attack really aggressively seem to pair well with the metagame, and this deck has a bunch of basic energy, so it does well against decks like Duraludon, and this deck can increase its damage output. So even in other decks that I covered, like Togekiss VMAX, we can get above that threshold of HP, knock out VMAX, V-Star Pokemon, all that great stuff. We also have Rare Candies. Rare Candies are going to be for the Ludicolo. We can use Ludicolo effectively throughout the game. We have access to, I put a few more in here than I normally would. I think I'd normally play like 2, I guess, so 1 more than I normally would. It's just because we're probably going to discard one early on with a Research or an Ultra Ball or something. It does give us that little bit of wiggle room that we might want to have. Scoop Up Net seems to be working well with Magma Basin, so you can get things out of the active. You could reutilize Ludicolo. Maybe it's worthwhile to play 1 less Scoop Up Nets, maybe, but these are really like where I'm at, where I'm like, I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to figure that out. Put 1 switch to Air Balloon. I think Air Balloon works great on just kind of any Pokemon. Ludicolo has 2 retreat. You could retreat an Entei into another Entei, Magma Basin powered up in the same turn, and kind of balance things out there. So I think Air Balloon works well, especially since we can always kind of get our energies back easily throughout the game with Magma Basin. We also have 4. We're not really like, we have a lot of ways to get the things that we want. And the fire energy count seemed great. At one point I did have 2 energy search and about 6 things, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Kindler to search for an energy search? We just want more raw energies when it comes to this deck. And of course, since Burning Rondo costs fire colorless, we can use Capture Energy here to search out Pokemon and really hit hard, because part of Burning Rondo is really having a full bench. So having bench sitters like Crobat and Lumineon and Articuno and even Lotads and even another Entei really works out well here. Where I think this deck excels compared to Ludicolo, or beyond Suicune Ludicolo, I should say, is that you seem to have a better matchup against metal type Pokemon, which is great. I mean, if you're looking at the format as a whole, you might think Mew is weak to dark, but the majority of Pokemon you put on your bench are weak to fire. So Entei could take some really early leads, especially like Boss's Order, Magma Basin, knockout turn 1. Like, you could put Mew on a 3-turn clock, and they do need Genesect to get set up. Turbo Zacian has largely been popular. We've seen decks like Leafeon get popular. There is a Leafeon V-Star coming out. Like, there's a lot of stuff that could work in this deck's favor, and it might just be better positioned. I think that this also could be a counter box deck at some point, where you play similar to what we have in our counter box, like our bird box, people like to call it, between Galarian Moltres, Galarian Zapdos, and Suicune. We might see a few of these other types work out with Aurora Energy. I mean, Magma Basin obviously only works with this Pokemon, but we could play Melanie, Aurora Energy, or something similar to that with this. So just giving you another idea. I think Entei, this seems like a solid build, very aggressive compared to a normal build, because you're not playing all those stage 2 Inteleons, Drizziles. You don't need so many missing pieces. You're really there, and you can get set up relatively quickly with Magma Basin. It's not just a 1-turn thing. If the Magma Basin stays in game, you could always just use the Magma Basin over and over and over again. Whereas when you play Melanie, it's gone. So there's certainly some advantages to be playing this deck. Again, not sure if they're going to outweigh everything with Suicune Ludicolo. We have a deck that we've seen success with for 6 months. This is a newcomer to the format, and I mean, maybe the weakness is going to be tough. Maybe the aggressiveness is going to be awesome. This is really where my core base is. I used a lot of Kenny Packala's. list that they sent me as inspiration. I used a lot of Kim Pobega's list from the late night regionals as inspiration, so I do want to shout out those because those are really some of the ideas that I got. Not necessarily taking it from any deck more than others, because I mean the whole idea is there laid out, but I do want to let people know if you got a chance to check out any of their lists or content, it'd be absolutely awesome. Let me know what you think about this deck in the comments. I'd love to hear your takes on this deck, if there's any card you think I'm missing or any card that you think is really cool in this deck. And that's what we got going on for this video today, peeps. Hopefully you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Entei. It's a really cool deck. I think it's going to do well in our format, or at least what I understand of the metagame right now. Again, all these lists are really early, so hopefully don't go too hard on me, but let me know what you think in the comments. Totally love to get back to it. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch up with all of y'all later. Thank you so much for the 9K recent subs. Let's get to 10K. We can do it. Peace out and have a great one. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video and have yourself a great day. Thanks.